now deal with content coverage, at least people would be able to, or would have a clear understanding of how do we normally answer questions that are case study based. So can someone take us through this case study that talks about Jackson Engineering? We can have a volunteer taking us through this case study that talks about Jackson Engineering. Then we can attempt the questions that were asked in the context of this case study. Then we can come back to, doing content coverage.
Can I read?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Jackson Engineering is a huge company based in Botswana's capital, Gaborone. The company has never taken procurement of fixed assets seriously. This is despite JE being a major engineering company that replaces major and expensive production line machines on a regular basis. Procurement of fixed asset is quite different from the procurement of routine operational items such as paper and other consumables. Where JE does at least insist on contracts being on its own terms and conditions with favorable delivery and quality terms. More recently, issues became more apparent when a BWP 130 million pressing machine broke down 2 days after the expiry of the manufacturer's warranty. An estimate to repair this machine was obtained for BW Botswana Pula 12 million from a local company, but with no guarantee that this repair would have a long-lasting effect. The original equipment supplier was not interested in quoting to carry out the necessary repair. The local engineer therefore only quoted on a work-only, no guarantee basis. Technology has improved since the machine was purchased only just over 1 year ago. JE now felt that a newer, more innovative technological pressing machine be purchased instead of repairing the broken one. The engineering manager rang a known and trusted supplier and discussed potential purchase price without any reference to the procurement department. He believed that this was competitive initial purchase price quotation for the machine, which would not include any other services and cost. Dixon, chartered MCIPS, as well a well-experienced newly appointed procurement director at JE, heard about this potential purchase from the supplier, and he was shocked that such a large fixed asset could be purchased this way. He quickly approached the engineering manager, who made it clear to Dixon that, in his opinion, this was a good deal. He assured Dixon that he had secured an excellent initial purchase price with the supplier. Dixon had to briefly explain the concept of whole life asset management and how the procurement function can act as an enabler of value to the organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leboham, for that. That was wonderful. That is the case study that talks about Jackson Engineering, a huge company that hasn't been taking procurement of fixed assets seriously. So they clearly see that there is a need for them to change, how they have been doing things. Question number 1, define the term whole life costing. Define the term whole life costing. So when we define this term, and this question carries 5 marks, like it is very, very tricky. Why? Because of you know, there are some people who may just write a very brief definition of whole life costing and think that they can get 5 marks. So when you are attempting a question like this, that says define the term whole life costing, give as much information as possible, because of only the definition of that cannot give you like marks. Even when the examiner is marking, there are certain keywords that he's going to look for. And the answer is whole life costing considers the total cost of a product or service over its lifetime from concept through to disposal, including purchase, hire or lease, maintenance, operation, utilities, training, and disposal. It is important for candidates to state that whole life costing includes all the costs such as purchase, lease or hire price through to disposal and end of life cost of equipment, asset or inventory to gain 5 marks. Therefore, if maybe you have written that whole life costing considers the total cost of a product or service over its lifetime, the highest number of marks that you can get for that was going to be 1 mark. But when you go to the extent of saying the concept, it goes through, it includes disposal, purchase, hire or lease, maintenance, operation, utilities, training, and disposal. That is how you get your additional marks. And then with that definition, you will get your full 5 marks. But like I'm saying, when maybe you have written whole life costing considers the total cost of a product or service over its lifetime. When maybe you end at that lifetime with there, you are going to get only 1 mark. But since you have included purchase, hire or lease, maintenance, operation, utilities, training, and disposal, those are the keywords that would give you additional 4 marks. Says that for this question that says define the term whole life costing, you get your full 5 marks. And then there is question number 2. So even though this question is saying define whole life costing, you can clearly see that yes, it's a question, it's a part question in relation to the case study that I've just read. But you can clearly see that the question has not, demanded you to maybe answer the question in the context of the case study. So that is why you are supposed to give a generic definition of whole life costing. Part B of the question says, describe 5 costs that Dixon might suggest to the engineering manager as important when considering the whole life asset management cost of a major capital purchase, such as the new pressing machine described within the scenario. It carries 20 marks. So it means since you are going to describe 5 costs, 1 cost is going to be marked out of 4. So before you just attempt your answer or to start answering your question, you are supposed to know the allocation of marks. And also you are supposed to understand your keyword. The keyword there says describe. When you are describing a cost, you are doing that in such a way that, someone who doesn't know the type of cost that we are talking about can have a clear idea of the cost that you are talking about after, explaining to them. And also we are saying, describe 5 costs that Dixon suggests to the engineering managers important when considering whole life asset management cost of a major capital purchase, such as the new pressing machine described within the scenario. So in your introduction, remember for these questions, you are going to write the introduction. In your introduction, you are going to explain our keyword, which is whole life asset management. To say whole life asset management is a process of considering the total cost of a product or service over its lifetime from concept through to disposal. That is just it. And then you say there are 5 costs that Dixon might include in whole life asset management, which are, then you state those costs. Can clearly see that, whole life asset management, it has, all these costs. We have pre-acquisition costs, we have acquisition cost, we have installation and commissioning cost, we have operating cost, we have maintenance cost, we have performance or downtime monitoring cost, we have end of life or disposal cost, we have analysis of historic performance costs, and there is a stage that talks about a lesson learned. So you can clearly see that there are 8 elements of whole life asset management. Therefore, from the list, take only 5, then you articulate that one to get your marks. So this one, because of I was lazy to answer it in the way we have been answering, but you just take a one cost to say pre-acquisition costs. When you just state pre-acquisition cost, that is where you get your first mark. And then you tell us what a pre-acquisition cost means. Then you give us an example of pre-acquisition cost, the cost of maybe research and doing like the cost of research, their pre-acquisition cost. Then you can tell us the importance of analyzing or taking into account the pre-acquisition costs. So that is just how you get your 4 full marks for that point that talks about pre-acquisition cost. You state the point. After stating the point, when you state the point, you get your first mark. Then you describe the point that you would have articulated. And in this case, the point that maybe we have articulated would be pre-acquisition cost. And you would say these are the costs that the Dixon would incur before acquiring or buying an item, the cost such as the cost of research. So when you give examples, that is where you are going to get your third mark. Then you can talk about the significance or the importance of taking that cost into account. The same thing with acquisition cost. You would say, you would mention the term acquisition cost as your point. You would tell us what acquisition cost mean, and then give us an example of acquisition cost. Then at the end of your answer, tell us the importance of taking those acquisition costs into account because of the command word is saying describe. So you state the point, you describe it, you give an example. Still, when you are giving an example, you are describing. When you are describing something to someone, when they don't understand, you normally go to the extent of giving them an example, just like that. And then the same thing with installation and commissioning costs. So all these types of costs, they are there and very, very detailed in our book. But like I'm saying, this one, I just included the table because of I was very lazy to maybe articulate, those costs. But there's this table somewhere in your module, which is just a summary of, some of the costs that are found in whole life asset management. We have designing and manufacturing of the assets. We have, commissioning costs. We have deterioration and maintenance costs. We have condition performance monitoring cost. We have decommissioning cost. We have removal and replacement cost. So you can clearly see that these are just some of the costs, and there is, information that is included under each cost. But like I'm saying, consult your study guide for this question. And then we have a question again that is asked in the context of something more or less like a case study. And because of this one, it talks about the CIPS code of conduct. The table below contains the main headings from the CIPS code of conduct. I think all people know what the CIPS code of conduct is. Is there someone who doesn't know the CIPS code of conduct? Angie, do you know the CIPS code of conduct?
Yes.
Okay. Leboran, do you know the CIPS code of conduct?
Yes. But sometimes I miss them. Maybe I can get out of 5, I can get 4 or 3.
Okay, I would send the link that talks about the link to the video that talks about the CIPS code of conduct. You are supposed to understand that thing as a procurement professional, not only for your exam, but also for the future, because of you can walk into an interview and then they ask you any of the 5 points that we find in the CIPS code of conduct. So it is very, very important for you to know that CIPS code of conduct by head.
Thank you.
Katlego, do you get the CIPS code of conduct? Do you understand it?
Yes, Lutlo.
Okay, is there anyone here who doesn't understand the CIPS code of conduct before we maybe go and answer the question? So that we maybe help that person.
Me,
Oh, you still don't.
I'm still struggling with them, even the
Oh,
explanation of them.
okay. The CIPS code of conduct have you read it before?
Yeah, it was on the July exam.
Okay, I would send the link to the recording that would make it very simple for you. But these are the main headings for the CIPS code of conduct. Heading number 1, it says enhance and protect the standing of the profession. So we are supposed to abide by all this, by the CIPS code of conduct as the procurement professionals. We are supposed to enhance and protect the standing of the CIPS profession. We are supposed to maintain the highest standard of integrity in all business relationships. We're supposed to promote the eradication of unethical business practices. We are supposed to enhance the proficiency and the stature of the profession. We are supposed to ensure full compliance with laws and regulations. With that being said, these are the 5 main headings that you'll find in the CIPS code of conduct. And then question number 4, part A says, describe the purpose of the CIPS code of conduct. Describe the purpose of the CIPS code of conduct. Someone can, read this answer for us. We can have a volunteer reading for us the answer, because of the question is saying, describe the purpose of the CIPS code of conduct, and it takes 5 marks. So someone can read the answer for us.
May I?
Yeah, Fozia, you can proceed.
Okay. The purpose of the Code of Conduct is to define behaviors and actions which CIPS members must commit to maintain as long as they are members of CIPS. Members of CIPS worldwide are required to uphold the CIPS code and to seek commitment to it by all the parties they engage with in their professional practice. Members should encourage their organization to adopt an ethical procurement and supply policy based on the principles of this code and raise any matter of concern relating to business ethics at an appropriate level within their organization. Members' conduct will be judged against the code, and any breach may lead to disciplinary action, rules set out in the Institute's Royal Charter. Members are expected to assist any investigation by CIPS in the event of a complaint being made against them.
Thank you so much, Fozia, for that. That was very splendid. Yeah, I too like I'm adjusting to your accent. Like I could hear you like very, very clear and properly. So I think with the face of time, would be able to hear me very clearly without having to concentrate a lot like you say you do. And also like I'm adjusting to your accent. So this is just how we answer, the question that says, describe the purpose of the CIPS Code of Conduct. I think, there are even 5 points here. So this one, it's a little bit tricky because of that description, it sticks to the facts. The first paragraph says the purpose of the code of conduct is to define behaviors and actions which CIPS members must commit to maintain as long as they are members of CIPS. That is 1 mark for that. Members of CIPS worldwide are required to uphold the CIPS code and seek commitment to it by all the parties they engage with in their professional practice. That is the 2nd mark. Members should encourage the organization to adopt an ethical procurement and supply policy based on the principles of this code and raise any matter of concern relating to business ethics at an appropriate level within the organization. The 3rd mark for that, members will be judged against the code, and any breach may lead to disciplinary action. Rules set out in the Institute Royal Charter. So if you are found to breach any of these principles, CIPS has a right to revoke your qualifications. I think people know that if you are caught as a procurement professional to be doing something that maybe you received a bribery, you are involved in any corrupt practice, and then maybe the organization that you are working at, when they can take the matter to court, and when the matter is taken to court, after the court case, when you are found guilty, afterwards, the organization that you are working at can report you at CIPS, and then CIPS has a right to revoke your qualifications. When they revoke your qualifications, it will be more of is like you never studied CIPS. So as the procurement professionals, I want you to know that where you are going to work, in a department, or you are going to be dealing with a lot of money, or you are going to be a gatekeeper of the tenders that are worth millions. Refrain at all costs to be engaged in those practices such as bribery and corruption, because of should things go wrong, CIPS would revoke your qualifications for good. They'll revoke your qualifications for good. Then it's like you have never studied CIPS. It's like you have never been to school and like that. So let us try to control our greedy, our greed, because of yes, most of us want to be rich. We want to have like a lot of money, but that shouldn't be at the expense of your academic qualifications. Because of, like I'm saying, when you are found guilty to have maybe engaged in corruption, bribery, CIPS has the right to revoke your qualifications. So that point that says members' conduct will be just against the code, and any breach may lead to disciplinary action. That is where you get your 4th mark. The 5th one, you say members are expected to assist any investigations by CIPS in the event of complaint being made against them. So we are saying, as a procurement professional, when you are being reported to CIPS, you are supposed to help them with investigations by providing maybe the information that they're requiring from you. So these are some of the purposes. The list is not exhaustive. We can still have a lot of points here that talk about the purpose of the CIPS Code of Conduct. So when you answer your question like this, you get your full 5 marks. So there was a question that was saying, for each of the headings highlighted within the table, describe 2 ways in which they could be applied by a procurement professional in practice. That takes 20 marks. It means that, you know, these headings, you are going to take one heading, then you state or you describe 2 ways in which they could be applied by a procurement professional in practice. For example, the heading number 1 says enhance and protect the standing of the profession. Therefore, when you are addressing this point, you are going to, or you have to tell us how you know, different individuals can enhance and protect the standing of the CIPS profession. So here are your points. Protecting profession and maintaining integrity, we're going to address those points. There is that point that talks about enhancing and protecting the standing of the profession. So this time around, when you state a point like that, you are not going to be given a mark. So the question is, why are you not going to be given a mark? Now, why do you think we're not going to be given a mark here for stating the point that says enhancing and protecting the standing of the profession?
Because you have already been given it, the point.
Yeah,
Hello?
that is very true. That is because of we have already been given the points. You are very correct. So someone can take us through you know, the point that says enhancing and protecting the standing of the profession. I would explain it from there. Someone can just take us through those points that are written under that point. We can have a volunteer. Can we have a volunteer taking us through that?
I'm volunteering.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Oh, don't move. I want to enlarge it a little bit. Okay, thank you. In enhancing and protecting the standing of the profession by never engaging in conduct, either professional or personal, which would bring the profession or the chartered institution of procurement and supply into dispute. Not accepting inducement or gift other than any declared gift of nominal value which have been sanctioned by my employer. Not allowing offer of hospitality or those with vested interests to influence or be perceived to influence my business decisions. Be aware that my behavior outside my professional life may have an effect on how I'm perceived as a professional. Maintain the highest standard of
Thank you so
integrity.
much for that. You can just
The second.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you so much for that. We're talking about, you know, ways in which we can enhance and protect the standing of the profession. So those are the points that you are supposed to put forward in your the body of your answer. So you can just take, you know, 2 points here. These are just the points. They are exactly the same way they are from the CIPS code of conduct. So one thing that I want to bring to your attention, or a question that I'm expecting from people, is to ask me whether you know, CIPS would penalize you for maybe not getting this thing word for word, because of, I think you are aware that the CIPS code of conduct is something that you are supposed to know. And in most cases, the headings, you are supposed to know them word for word. That is why they have written, you know, them for you, like, you know, here. so that you don't get them wrong. Like the main heading says, enhance and protect the standing of the profession, or they can simply say enhancing and protecting the standing of the profession. So that is why, like, they have written these things for you, is because of they know that it is not or like it is very hard for people to memorize this thing word for word, unless because of you have a photogenic memory like myself, because of I normally capture something exactly the same way it is, like word for word. But not all people have that ability. So when you are given a point like this, the points, like I'm saying, this are written here, that exactly word for word from the CIPS code of conduct. But when you are describing two ways in which we can enhance and protect the standing of the profession, when you are describing those points, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to recall them word for word, but they're supposed to contain key information that is contained in those descriptions. For example, never engaging in conduct, either professional or personal, which would bring the profession or the chartered institute into disrepute. So you can simply say, I'm never engaging in something that can bring the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply to disrepute. Or you can say, never engaging in anything that may damage the reputation of the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to remember this points word for word. I don't know whether people are, getting what I'm communicating.
Very clear.
Okay. So you don't necessarily need to memorize and try to cram this thing. You just have to know the main points. To say, when we're talking about enhancing and protecting the standing of the profession, we talk about the protection of the reputation of CIPS by the members. We're simply saying those members or the members of CIPS are not supposed to engage in a conduct that will bring the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply into disrepute. And then that is just the point. You need to explain it. Remember, our question carries 20 marks, and you are supposed to explain the 5 main headings. Therefore, it means at each point, it is going to get 4 marks. It means here we are going to take 2 points, maybe never engaging in conduct and not accepting inducements or gifts. Then you take those 2 points. So when you have written them like that, that is 2 marks. So another 2 marks is going to come from you describing those points, because of, like I'm saying, these things are exactly the same way they are from the CIPS code of conduct, even if you can open it in your book. So when you take 2 points, by just stating them, that is 1 mark and the second mark. So the 2 additional marks for the very first point that talks about enhancing and protecting the standing of the profession. The additional 2 marks is going to come from, describing these 2 points. I think people are getting what I'm communicating. So as a procurement professional, you are not supposed to engage in a conduct, either professional or personal, which would bring the profession or the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply into disrepute. I think that is quite clear. So, we're talking about things such as, bribery, things such as corruption, because of if you are a member of CIPS right now, and then you engage in corruption, it's more of, wherever you study CIPS, you have been taught how to be corrupt or to like maybe, receive bribery and like that. You are not supposed to accept inducements or gift other than any declared gift of nominal value which have been sanctioned by the employer. So as a procurement professional, you are not supposed to receive any gift that is of high value. But of course, if someone is buying you a plate of food that costs at around less than or $5 or $3 or maybe 30 rands or 30 pula, you are not supposed to declare that one, because of it's something that it's like very, very small in value. But if maybe someone just gives you like a laptop that is worth at around 15,000 pula or $1.5 or maybe 18,000 rands, we are supposed to be concerned as employers, because of possibly the person who's giving you that laptop He's giving you that laptop so that when there's a certain tender, you award to them. The gifts, when something that is of high value, it should be declared. That's so why someone is giving you that, that gift. Of course, there are times where as the procurement professionals will receive gifts. When it's your birthday, everyone is just allowed to give you a gift. Someone may deliver the gift to you at work. But if it's something that is of high value, you are supposed to declare it. So just so the employer or the head of procurement in an organization can get to know why are you receiving that gift. 2 or 3, not allowing offers of hospitality or those with vested interest to influence or to be perceived to influence my business decisions. So as a procurement professional, you are not supposed to be offered, hospitality, more especially when we can see that you are dealing with, someone who has like a certain interest in an organization. Maybe someone, pays for you to go to Dubai, for your vacation and all that. So you would have, obviously have a conflict of interest when maybe you are evaluating certain bids and that supplier has paid a trip for you to maybe go to Dubai because you feel like there is a need for you to return the favor by awarding the contract to them or influencing the whole procurement process such that at the end of the day is the one who's going to win a tender. We are supposed to be aware that our behavior outside our profession may have influence on how we are perceived as the professionals. So that is 4 ways in which we can enhance and protect the standing of the profession. Can someone take us through maintaining the highest standard of integrity in all business relationships?
Maintaining the highest standard of integrity in all business relationships by rejecting any business practice which might reasonably be deemed improper. Never using my authority or position for my own financial gain. Declaring to my line manager any personal interest that might affect or be seen by others to affect my impartiality in decision making. Ensuring that the information I give in the course of my work is accurate and not misleading. Never breaching the confidentiality of information I receive in a professional capacity. Striving for genuine, fair, and transparent competition. Being truthful about my skills, experience, and qualifications.
Thank you so much for that. That was very splendid. There is a point that talks about maintaining the highest standard of integrity in all business relationships. So also under that point, we have to describe 2 ways in which we can maintain the highest standard of integrity. So you can do that by rejecting any business practice which might be which might reasonably be deemed improper. For example, you can reject a bribe. When someone is trying to bribe you as a procurement professional, you are supposed to reject that bribe because of someone who's going to be giving you a bribe won't be aware of the consequences that you may face when you receive that bribe. So that is why at times as a procurement professional, you need to reject those business practices. Also reject an opportunity to maybe favor someone who's your relative or someone that when you are dealing with your work staff. Maybe there is your organization is looking for a procurement professional, then you feel like, okay, because of nowadays people there is unemployment, therefore let me talk to my boss, or as a boss let me favor maybe my brother or someone that I know, just so that he take this position. You are supposed to stay away from those things because of they are at the expense of your qualifications. Point number 2 says never using my authority or position for my own financial gain. It is very common, for us as people who are powerful or leaders to maybe use our position for financial gain. But we're simply saying, as a procurement professional, you should never do that. That is very common. In most countries, you would see maybe the president winning, tenders that are worth billions, or maybe the relative to the president winning those tenders. That is because of that president would be using the authority or the position or the influence such that the relative is given a certain tender. But we are saying we are not supposed to do that as a procurement professional. One way of maintaining the highest standard of integrity in all business relationships is by declaring to your line manager any personal interest that might affect or be seen by others to affect my impartiality in decision making. So let's say maybe right now, like I'm tutoring you. So as I'm tutoring you, you are also having like a relationship because of particularly the ones that are working in Botswana. One of the good days would be working in procurement, and when you are working in procurement, you are maybe evaluating the bids for a certain tender, and then you just realize that, oh, in those bids, Tlotlo Ramotlhabi, who's your former tutor, has submitted the bids. So you're supposed to declare that, I know this individual. I know this individual because of at one point he was tutoring me and then I passed. So you're supposed to declare because of, obviously, if I've, helped you and we have passed, you would tend to feel like, that guy is important. Let me do something in to like appreciate him, just like that. So you may even want to appreciate me by awarding me, that tender that you are currently evaluating. So that is why at times you need to declare, and then after declaring, that line manager, looking at the information that you have given, he's the one to decide whether you can be in the evaluation panel or not. So it doesn't necessarily mean that after you declare, you are going to be excused. No, it's not all times. You can just declare, then you continue with the evaluation. But there are times where you have declared and then you are excused from the evaluation panel. It is very common when you are dealing or with the person that you say it's someone who's like very close to you, maybe your wife or your friend, or just someone that is your family member. In those cases, you would be excused from the evaluation panel, but you are not the one who decides. Only the line manager does. You can also, maintain the highest standard of integrity in all business relationships by ensuring that the information you give in the course of your work is accurate and not misleading. Some procurement professionals, they can mislead people. Let's say maybe you are dealing with a certain tender. When you are dealing with a certain tender, maybe you find, my name, Ramatlabi, is one of the bidders there. Maybe you, for some reason, you have a grudge against me. And then one of the good days, I just make a call, maybe needing clarity about something in a tender. So you're not supposed to give me false information, even if you hate me. So you're supposed to ensure that the information that you give is accurate and not misleading. We can maintain the highest standard of integrity in all business relationships by never breaching the confidentiality of information you receive in a professional capacity. So you can be told to say, next week or next month we'll be floating an invitation to tender that is worth at around maybe 500 million. You are not supposed to disclose that to maybe your friends before it is publicly advertised. But some people do that. There's a scandal that is currently happening in Botswana where the national examination is leaked. I know it's something that is in public domain that I think people are aware of. And there is someone who just said in the comment section, CIPS Code of Conduct was in July examinations. Is it possible to repeat it? Is it possible to repeat in November exam? I'm asking for my knowledge. What usually happens, CIPS has a question bank. I would focus for you in the coming days, the most probable questions that they're going to ask, but they can ask about the CIPS Code of Conduct. Why? Because of they have just tested people based on that. So it will take quite some time, maybe 2 years or certain months before maybe they ask other students the same question on the CIPS Code of Conduct. So, but we have or CIPS has a question bank just like that. And I think, we are not supposed to go through this because of you just pick the 2 points here, then you describe them. There's a point that talks about promoting the eradication of unethical business practices by fostering awareness of human rights, fraud, corruption issues in all my business relationships. So someone can take us through that point that talks about promoting the eradication of unethical business practices. And after, that someone reads about that, someone may take us through enhancing the proficiency and the stature of the profession, and someone may take us through ensuring full compliance with laws and regulations. I'd send a link where this thing is, breaking down into or is explained in detail but it's self-explanatory. For example, when you talk about that point that says fostering awareness of human rights, fraud, and corruption issues in all my business relationships. So as the procurement professionals, we are very, very abreast about issues of human rights, fraud, and corruption. So we are supposed to teach our fellow employees and the organization at large about these things so that they are aware of them. That is why even as the procurement professionals, when we engage suppliers, we tend to undertake due diligence to check whether those suppliers are not violating human rights, are not being corrupt, just like that, to check if they're ethical. So we do that. So with that being said, someone may take us through promoting the eradication of unethical business practices. And when that person completes that section, someone may take us through enhancing the proficiency and the stage of the profession, and someone may take us through the very last point that talks to ensuring full compliance with laws and regulations. We can have a volunteer, please. Can we have a volunteer?
Okay, I can read, so my background is bad. I don't know if everyone will understand it.
No, like it's quite noisy. Like, can you maybe try to switch off the radio or something? Okay, I think maybe Cheryl, because of she's in a noisy environment, someone can volunteer. Thank you so much for that, Cheryl.
It's okay. And unfortunately, I'm at work, so we work with some people playing music in the office. There is no way I can tell like switch off the music. Unfortunately.
But we are not going to hear you properly.
I don't know if mine is a bit noisy, but can you hear me?
Yeah, like your environment is very quiet. I don't hear anything in the background.
Okay. Promoting the eradication of unethical business practices by fostering awareness of human rights, fraud, corruption issues in all my business relationships, responsibly managing any business relationships where unethical practices may come to light, and taking appropriate action to report and remedy them. Undertaking due diligence on appropriate supplier relationships in relation to forced labor, modern slavery, and other human rights abuses, fraud, and corruption. Continually developing my knowledge of forced labor, modern slavery, human rights, fraud, and corruption issues, and applying this in my professional life. That's for promoting the eradication of unethical business practices.
Thank you so much for that. That was very splendid. Someone may take us through enhancing the proficiency and the stage of the profession.
Enhancing the proficiency and stature of the profession by continually developing and applying knowledge to increase my personal skills and those of the organization I work for. Fostering the highest standards of professional competence amongst those for whom I am responsible. Optimizing the responsible use of resources which I have influence over for the benefit of my organization.
Thank you so much for that. Now someone may take us through the last point that talks about ensuring full compliance. But like I'm saying, you know, when you remember your points, these things that are just self-explanatory. When you say continually developing and applying knowledge to increase my personal skills and those of the organization I work for, as one of the ways of enhancing the proficiency and the stage of the profession. When you explain that point, you can simply say the procurement professionals can do this by undertaking CPD. CPD, we normally call it continuous professional development. As a CIPS student, even after you finish school, you are supposed to always renew your membership and take on an yearly ethical test. There is an ethical test that people are supposed to write every year. I don't know whether people are taking on that test or people don't know. Let me see. Is there anyone here who has written an ethical test this year? The CIPS ethical test. Is there anyone here who wrote the CIPS ethical test? I will take that as a no. So I'll show you in the website where you access that. The CIPS code of not the
Yes,
CIPS.
I wrote.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Yes, I
think
wrote mine last.
when
I wrote mine in 2022, and then it expired on the 1st of June, 2023.
you write it every year, so like you just go there where you were accessing that test. It's like you write it every year. When you write it, they would give you a certificate, and that certificate is valid for 1 year. So also make sure that you take on that test before the end of this year, because of the more you take that test, it adds to your CPD.
Noted. Thanks.
You're welcome. So one way of continually developing and applying knowledge as a way of increasing your personal skills is taking on CPD in CIPS, and the most common one it's by writing that ethics test. Is compulsory for all people to write it. When you are a member of CIPS, when you are a student, you are supposed to take on that test. But like I'm saying, I will show you how to access that test in the CIPS website. With that being said, this is how we come to the end of a session that teaches us how to deal with the questions that are case study based. I think if people need more practice on this, I'll still be able to do that from time to time. But like I'm saying, while doing this so that people get to appraise how we answer questions in the context of a case study. Before maybe we proceed, I want to invite questions from all of you. If there is anyone who has a question pertaining to what we've been doing, since we started the sessions in the previous days up until today, I want to answer those questions that you might be having pertaining to like reference into the case study. Just any question that you might be having. Fozia has a question. Let me take it.
Yeah. When we discussed whole life costing, I need to know one thing. Here is the question: describe 5 whole life costings. So there are more than 5 processes of it. So shall we describe 5 according to the case?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. We normally include only the number of points that the examiner instructed us to include. That question was saying, describe 5 costs. So we're only going to stick to 5 costs. So it is very, very straightforward. Yesterday, we were dealing with a question that was saying, explain the 7 stages of the tendering process. You can clearly see that you are given, the number of points that you are supposed to write there. So when you are given, you are told to write 5, write 5. When you are told to write 7, write 7. But there are times where CIPS doesn't include the number of points that you are supposed to put. Maybe they say describe the different costs that or like describe different costs that you may find in the whole life asset management cycle. So when your question is like that, the marks will guide you. That is why I'm like always emphasizing, this thing of marks to say most of the questions that carry 25 marks, mostly you are supposed to put 5 points for that question that carries 25 marks. Where 1 point is going to be marked out of 5. And but of course, there are on rare occasions where you would find, that the examiner demands you to like write at about 7, points, but the question is out of 25. But in most cases, when you come across a question and it carries 25 marks and you are not told how many points are you supposed to write, only write 5 points.
No. So I need to ask the thing, which 5 costs I need to describe? I have to describe 5 costs according to case study. This is my question. I know you told us you have to describe the things according to the question. Where it is listed two things, we have to describe 2 things only. And where there it is written 3 things, we have to describe 3 things. Here my question is, should I describe 5 costs according to case history, which related to case history?
Yeah, you are supposed to only, describe 5 costs as per what the examiner is demanding from you.
According to case history, right?
Yes.
Because in case history, they are describing capital asset.
Yeah, like but that capital assets, when we're talking about whole life costing, there are a lot of things, the cost that make up the whole life, asset management, cost, or the total cost of ownership. We have pre-acquisition cost, we have acquisition costs, we have maintenance cost, operating costs, training cost, disposal cost. So only pick 5 costs.
Exactly. Okay, I got you. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome. Is there anyone else who has a question pertaining to the questions that are case study based? I was drawing this to our attention because of most of the questions that normally come out of this module, the case study based, and a lot of people fail to understand or fail to relate or to cite the case study. Most people, like I was saying yesterday, that there was a question that was simply saying we are supposed to answer or explain the 7 stages of the tendering process, but in the context of the case study. And I said, in most cases, if you are going to generically answer that question, not relating it to the case study, you the maximum number of marks that can be given or awarded for your answer, it's only 3 marks because of you have written something but you are off context. When you are saying you are off context, you are simply saying you didn't follow the instruction. That is why when I was starting, this module, I took you through command words so that people can understand the command words. Because of if you are not going to follow the command word also, it's another problem. So with that being said, that is why I'm inviting questions so that if there is anything that I maybe have missed or I didn't clarify, people can ask. Because of, I don't think we're ever going to be focusing a lot on case studies because of, like I'm saying, we're going to start doing content coverage. But of course, yes, from time to time, I would give you or engage you through, assignments where I would set a case study based question and demand people to maybe answer that question. Okay, in me. There's someone who's asking or left a message in the chat. When the question asks about 5 aspects of code of ethics, is it asking about those 5 areas we covered? Yes. That is just that the 5 aspects of code of ethics, or there is a code of ethics, there is a code of conduct. So those are 2 different things. So when the question says 5 aspects of the code of ethics, it's something else. It doesn't relate to what we talked about today. But of course, it's some of those things that you're going to cover. Okay. You wanted to ask about the code of conduct. Yes, if they say 5 aspects of code of conduct, yes, those are the points that you put forward. But like I'm saying, there's a code of conduct, there's a code of ethics. And at times when you have a question, just unmute and maybe ask it so that we understand it exactly the same way you are asking it. Cheryl was asking a question and she left that question in the chat. There's a document that.
Hello. Okay. I was just asking that question because it came in July. It was asking, like, it was a case study based, so it was asking, like, it was saying explain or describe the 5 aspects of CIPS code of conduct. So I just wanted to know if those areas we covered are just the same.
Yeah, those are the areas that we're looking for. Did you put them like this during your exam, or you wrote something else?
Yeah, I wrote them like as they are, cause like I claimed like one acronym, the sub, like those areas I included all of them 5. Maybe I don't know, maybe my description I don't know, maybe my approach on describing it was not good, but I included all those 5 areas.
It means maybe you got them wrong when you were describing them in the body, because of you can get them right in point form to say protecting and enhancing the stage of the profession. You would get a mark for that. Maybe when you go to the description, what you wrote was not what was in line with the point that you written. So like, I know this question is very, very difficult, because of you have to remember this CIPS code of conduct. So that is why saying as a procurement professional, we are supposed to know the CIPS code of conduct by head, not for the benefit of the examination, just so that you know it, because if you can walk into an examination, not an examination, but an interview, then they ask you about the CIPS code of conduct. So that is why in the modules, most modules, they have, the CIPS code of conduct. There is no module that you can do in procurement that doesn't talk about the CIPS code of conduct. every module would always a reference to the CIPS code of conduct. From level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, that teaching the CIPS code of conduct. That is why in most modules in procurement, in chapter 4, they talk about ethics. This module, in chapter 4 of this module, we're going to talk about ethics and the code of conduct and all that. When we are doing level 4, M4 also, they also talk about, these things. Which module also? M1 also, somewhere, somehow, there's where it talks about, the CIPS code of conduct. Even when you get to level 5, you would find a module that solely talk about this CIPS code of conduct. I think that is level 5 M5. There is one module that talks a lot about the ethics, the code of conduct, and all those things. That is because of they want you to know this CIPS code of conduct. So find a way to memorize it, not for the incoming examination, but also because of you just need to know it as a procurement professional. So with that being said, I think people don't have the questions, so we can continue. I send a question bank to you in the group. I think people have appraised that question bank. So I want people to print that question bank and go through it because of like it's very, very good. Most of the questions that are there on my slides are there on this question bank. We were doing this question yesterday. One of the objectives set for the supply chain director is to develop supplier selection. Suggest the 5 appropriate selection criteria that one might recommend 20 marks. This is, what we were talking about, yesterday. So you can clearly see that when you use this question bank and also the questions that I've given you, here the questions are different from the ones that are in the question bank, but they have the same answer. This one is saying, explain why it would be important to assess the financial stability of 3 potential suppliers before the award of the contract. And also you would find answers to that. So this question bank, it's a series of the past examination questions, and I think it will be of benefit to people who have been struggling so much with this module, going forward, because of I know the way questions are asked in this module is not how questions are asked in maybe level 4 M1. That is why level 4 M1, a lot of people pass that module without struggle, but when they come to this module, they always struggle so much. But the problem being how questions are normally asked in this module. That is why when we started the session, I availed all the possible questions that I'm still demanding people to answer, in point form. But if you can also elaborate your points that way. So I want people to go through this question bank, and based on the recommendation from one of our colleagues, it means in our next session, I'm going to take you through the whole of chapter 1. We're supposed to do it today, but we had to complete what we started yesterday. And you can clearly see that, most of those questions, they were asked in the context of the case study. Who's Lebohang? I think it's Lebohang. You were saying you wrote this exam in July. Like, how many case studies were there in this in that examination?
No, I didn't write exam. It's not me.
Okay, I think there's someone who said she was writing, or is Cheryl, like
Yeah,
how
it's
many
me.
how many case studies were there?
Oh, 4 questions. Question 1 to question 4, all were case studies.
Yeah.
Okay, Julia was raising her hand.
I was saying me also was right on July M1 and M8. All questions were case studies, even M1.
Even with M1.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, maybe it's because of the syllabus, they're changing the syllabus. So but when we are writing, to the best of my remembrance, when we are writing level 4 M1, there was no case study. When we are writing level 4 M8, I think there was only one case study. So, but if that is the case, it means maybe CIPS going forward, they are going to include case studies and all the questions. I would set a document that is just exactly the same way like the one we're doing, and I would answer it for you and then share it with you. But we're not going to discuss it. Maybe we'll discuss it after we complete the module, because of I was not aware of that. The fact that maybe it's like your questions are all case study based. So since your questions are all case study based, it means I need to give you like a lot of practice on that. So just allow me to set a question for you. I'll see whether I would make it out of 50 based on the information that we have covered so far, just so that people start practicing. I think if you don't mind, I can give you a test, for this module every week. Maybe 1 or 2 questions every week, just so that people start to practice. Because of it seems like, based on the information that I get from you, you would find all questions being tested on a case study, and like I'm saying, people might attempt that question to the best of their knowledge, and only to realize at a later time that they were off context. So I need to give you a lot of practice on that module. Thank you so much, Fozia and Cheryl, for that. I was not aware that there are case studies for all the questions, and it means somewhere, somehow, time management is another problem, because of I can't imagine having to read 4 case studies and also attempting the questions. I think Fozia, when we are writing that exam, you didn't complete your paper, right? Did you manage to complete to answer all the questions, Fozia? Did you manage to complete all your questions, Cheryl?
Yes, I did. Because truly speaking, the paper, it seemed to be easy. Like the questions were like easy. Like, I don't know if I can say easy, but the paper was fair. So when I got my results, I was so shocked. Like, how did I fail?
Exactly. That paper
Like, I
was
don't believe it. Like,
so
I don't
simple.
believe they gave me my results,
Exactly.
because the paper was
When
just
I
fair.
when I got the result, I failed. I was astonished. I surprised.
Okay,
Yeah.
but would definitely tackle this paper. It's all as well. Just practice a lot of questions that I gave you. And like just you can at times just take one question and answer that question, then you submit it to me, then we just give you feedback. I wanted to give all of you, I've marked the script for people who have submitted, but I was maybe waiting for others to submit. But I'm just going to send feedback to people who have submitted, because of at times when we have an assignment, let us try to maybe complete it at the earliest time possible, so that when people have attempted it, I can give collective feedback. So right now, I think that around 5 people who answered that question. The one that I assigned people to answer, the one that talks about Potter's 5 forces, where you were to take an industry of your choice and answer and analyze that industry using Potter's 5 forces. The reason I was giving you that question to do is because of it's the best practice talking about case study based, because of you are going to take one industry, then you answer in the context of the industry of your choice. So that is what I wanted people to practice on, so that when you can successfully answer that question, approaching this case study based questions, it becomes more of like very, very easy, because of when you are writing, it's more of you are writing generically, but you are relating to something that is a fact, or relating to something that because of the reason why the examiner would say using the industry of your choice is because of the industry that you're going to talk about. When I'm marking your script, I would get to picture it or relate or, you know, get the industry that you are talking about. So, you know, certain information, I would realize that, no, this information is false. This industry doesn't have this and that. When you refer back to the question on the slides, you would realize that, you know, all the information that I put on my slides, like it was factual about the airline industry. So that is why I was giving people that question, because of when you practice on that, when you come to this case study based, it becomes not that bad. Fozia, you have something to say?
No.
Okay. I think Julia, your hand was up.
I was reminding you about the 25 marks. Each question was 25 marks. No outline list. The exam was tricky.
Okay. No, that is not a.
He
That
prepared,
is
discuss, explain, and describe, because all the questions were 25 marks, all of them. I was reminding you.
okay. No, thank you so much for that. It means going forward, the questions that you're going to do are going to be 20 marks, 25 marks. It means maybe they have changed the way they structure their questions for this module. But like I'm saying, we would continue using that question bank, and before the next session, I would want people to have answered, you know, all the questions for chapter 1 in point 4. And then we're going to take it from there. There is a module that we are going to complete in the next session. I don't know whether it's today. Let me look at the timetable. So I would see whether we would input this module there or M3. Like today was the day today. That is a Saturday. It's a Saturday or
Today is 14th.
huh?
14th. 14th
Oh,
October.
yeah, I get that. So I think today we are going to do more questions for M7. Then, like I'm saying, we have made quite impressive you know, progress on that module. So we would pause that module a bit based on the progress so far and the kind of weight, because generally M7 is not difficult. And I would see you know, which module can we put there, but based on you know,
On 17th.
based on the information that I got from you, I think I would have to put M8 there. So therefore, it means in most cases, we are going to do M8 and then do it the other day as per the timetable, because if you can clearly see that, you know, after doing M8, like we did M8 yesterday, we're supposed to do M7 today. You are going to do M7 today. And then in the next session for M8 on Tuesday, from 2 to 10 o'clock or half 9, the following day on Wednesday, you are going to be doing M8. That is because of I want to give you, like, you know, more practice, because of, like, we are saying, based on the information that I got from you, this module, like, the questions are normally out of 25, they are normally case study based. So it's not a problem. With that being said, I think we can call this a day. So people should answer the whole of, you know, chapter 1 questions in point 4, and kindly submit to me before when is the date today? Before Monday. So everyone should submit, and there are people who submit you know, through WhatsApp. Like, it's okay to submit through WhatsApp as long as it's a document, but don't type it as a message to say to answer, you know, a question. How can I put it? I think people are understanding. So when I gave you like an assignment, don't you know, submit it as a message, like in text form in WhatsApp. You know, write it in a document, then submit it, because there was, you know, and there's someone who wrote to me, and then I had to cut, you know, the whole message, copying the message, then creating a document for them, and then that is when I can start marking. So that when you attempt, you know, the questions that I'm giving you, make sure that you maybe open a Word document, or maybe when you don't have a laptop, you can take a piece of paper, answer in that piece of paper, but very neatly in such a way that I can see. And when I can see, I normally print, I have a printer, I print that paper and then I mark for you, and then I can maybe scan it and send it back to you. So either write on a piece of paper or you don't have like a laptop or something. But our phones are so smart nowadays, we can install Microsoft Word in your device, then you just type it from there. With that being said, I think we can adjourn. Thank you so much for your time. Balaga.
Can you please resend the assignment? I don't know if I have it in the group.
Which assignment?
The one that you said